And now the news is good with Matthew Martin.
Hi, I'm Matthew Martin, and the news is good. Tonight, a full life is not measured by years. Toward the end of Isaiah's amazing book, God talks about how great it is to belong to his kingdom. Listen to this. There shall be no more any infant of days, nor old man that has not fulfilled his days. For the child shall die 100 years old, but the sinner, being 100 years old, shall be accursed. Isaiah 65:20. I think what it's saying is spiritual beings do not need to concern themselves with the harshness of time and the pain that comes with old age. A man's life may exceed 100 years, but it's still just an infant of days on this earth. It doesn't matter in the spiritual kingdom, however. The days are eternal. A child of God may die at 100 years old, but it doesn't matter the number of years that he can count. It's the fact that he was a child of God that counts. Likewise, a sinner may die at 100 years old, but all his years do not change the fact that he will die accursed, separated from God. A man may live into old age and accomplish much in this life, but if he's in the kingdom, his age is irrelevant, because however long he lives is a life that is fulfilled, and it's a life lived with God. So rejoice in your life, however long it may be, because it is not the number that matters to God, it's the choices. Thank you, Matthew. We now go live to our special correspondent who's out on the field. Matthew. Thank you, Matthew. Today's Bible reading comes from Revelation 3, verse 15, where Jesus says, I know your works, that you are neither cold nor hot, and I wish that you were either cold or hot. That's the Lord's message to the church at Laodicea, and it often causes people to pause and say, well, I wonder why Jesus would want them to be cold. Like, in the context, you most definitely want to be hot. You want to be on fire. You want to be, burning with passion for the Lord. You don't want to be ice cold. But if the options are either cold or hot over here, and what the Laodiceans were, which is lukewarm, that is what Jesus wants you to avoid entirely. Because a lukewarm Christian, an apathetic Christian, an uncaring Christian is going to hear the gospel, hear the warnings of judgment to come, and just shrug it off. Whatever, it doesn't matter, I don't care. But a person who is ice cold, who has no appreciation for the gospel, who has never heard the gospel before, who is completely turned off to Jesus Christ, could potentially be affected by the message, could be started up. The engine could start revving. The fire could be stoked. If a person doesn't care anything about God, or if they are actively against God, and that's what cold is, then if you could just redirect them to what is right, you would find in them a very zealous, faithful soldier of the cross. And who better to prove that point than Paul, the apostle, formerly the zealous persecutor of the church. Not an apathetic guy, not a lukewarm guy, whatever, if it happens, it happens. The church or not the church, Jew or not Jew, doesn't matter. No, he was zealously against Jesus, ice cold. Then he finds Jesus and he shifts entirely to being on fire, to being completely bought in to the gospel cause. So yeah, the Lord does not want you lukewarm. He would rather I think, not to speak for the master, if he had to choose of all three, he'd want you to be hot. He'd want you to be burning with zeal. But if he has to choose between hot or cold versus lukewarm, he wouldn't want you lukewarm ever. I know that because he says so. And if you are cold, if you are completely against Jesus, well, why don't you come talk to somebody about him? If they can change your mind, he might just find in you a staunch defender and servant who can help other people come to know Jesus too. God bless. I hope you've had a good day today. My prayer for you is that you will look for opportunities to serve others. I remember hearing about how Mr. Rogers handled the 9/11 attack. I think it was 9/11. It was some disaster that happened. I think it was 9/11, but I could be wrong. And how he was with children who were obviously, susceptible to trauma, had seen something like that. And the way Mr. Rogers handled it was he went to them, and because they were glued to the television screen, they were watching first responders and things. And what he said was, I want you to look for the helpers. Look for the helpers, find me the helpers, identify those. And so he meant look for the firemen who were digging through rubble, look for the police officers who were trying to clear people away, look for the EMTs and ambulance workers who are loading people up and taking them to hospitals. Look for the people who are doing the good. So you don't focus on the specifically bad and the evil and the heart-wrenching part of it, but you find the people who are actively doing good. Look for the helpers. My prayer for you is that you will be one of those helpers that people look to when something bad happens. that you will find opportunities to serve, to jump in, sometimes into the fire, to pull people out of it, whether that's proverbial or literal, that you will find the opportunities to serve people, to help people, and to, in that sense, fulfill the calling of Jesus, who came not to be served, but to serve, to the point of giving his life for the salvation of us all. That's my prayer for you today. Look for opportunities to serve. Look for a way to be a helper. Have a great day. God bless. I'm Matthew Martin, and the news is good. Tonight, I hit that thing. One more time. I think that's the right idea, though. I'm Matthew Martin, and the news is good. Tonight, forgiveness in a nutshell. Forgiveness in a nutshell.